get right to the smut of what you're trying to unpack? My baggage, allegedly, and shit like that?
TQ,
or
you
want
can't.
slow walk it?
You can't. You trying to create the narrative that it might be smut to deflect from the work that needs to be done, and I won't allow that to happen here.
Okay.
We've had a good conversation, man to man.
Always.
And we talked about your father and your relationship.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And a lot of the different misunderstandings. Let's call them that. The misunderstandings that have taken place, and the amount of how you've taken it personal. Drawn conclusions, made assumptions without communication. And this is coming from a healed, unpacked black man.
So one thing I will say, because again, like I told you before, every conversation I have in life, I generally take somewhere else because I like just having conversations and repurpose it.
No, you just like to go to your mom so she could tell you I'm wrong.
I literally didn't talk to her about it yet.
It was either her or your fiance. Or Donna Ashley. One of the three. And that's you going to your community of people.
Two of my other friends. Two of my other friends.
All right, let's talk. I want to hear their perspective.
So, and the thing I led with, I'm like, I was talking to Wolf, and we was having a whole conversation. Everybody know about the whole story of my dad, whatever. And one thing I left with him that I was pondering on was the idea that I don't communicate well.
Yeah.
And cause the thing, one of our the staples in that conversation was, I was saying that some conversation can be pointless, and you were saying that essentially no conversation is pointless.
I'll hear the rest of your.
Okay, but I understand what you're saying, because like in the day, if you get to express yourself, if you have tension to release that, it is what it is. And I was like, I can land on and admit that I can make, if I see a certain pattern, I can make an educated guess and assumption, and deem that be like, that's not worthy of the conversation. Nah, I'm done with that. And I could just move on from it and be totally fine. I don't need to discuss it. We don't need to unpack it because I'm unpacked. And we can just leave it there. I can already anticipate how the conversation will go, which further makes it unnecessary to have, even involving my own father.
So let me add my own context to what I was saying. It wasn't about you drawing a conclusion from, you didn't have the whole board. You literally had one side of it and drew a conclusion based on what you assumed. So the conversation is not pointless, because hearing someone's reasoning does not mean you have to agree with their reasoning. You're just giving them the opportunity to express themselves, so that when you draw your conclusion, you're not drawing it based on your own level of understanding and perception. So if someone has a tendency to conclude that if someone looks at them with a certain face, that it must mean you don't like me, right? They draw that conclusion. I walk in a room, this person got a nasty face, this person don't like me. That person could just be having a fucked up day.
Very true.
It can have nothing to do with you.
Very true.
You walk past him like, yeah, every time I walk in, this nigga looking at me a certain way, he don't like me. Whole time, he ain't even thinking about you. His girl stressing him the fuck out, and he trying to, you follow what I'm saying? But you don't never ask, because you're based on your assumption of your history of patterns. This has to be what it means. So I encourage, not just you, America, the world.
America, and the world.
And
the universe.
Yeah, the universe.
Universe.
To not draw some. See, because like the Four Agreements is one of my favorite books. Four Agreements says, be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. So in the chapter about not making assumptions, it made me realize how we all do what I like to call assume I communicate. Meaning by way of...
Assume I communicate?
Assume I. Like it's my own word.
Okay.
I communicate, right? It's like, I'm going to assume that I understand to avoid communicating. And I'm going to communicate with myself based on my assumption that I drew. Right? So you literally in that situation was the textbook definition of assume I communicate. You follow what I'm saying? So you, by way of, so because X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C transpired, X, Y, and Z outcome had to be a result of that. When in reality, even if you were right, you still should give somebody the opportunity to speak and think for themselves, because it just shows respect, right? So like, I'm not going to assume you being late, if you were late, was out of lack of respect for the platform. I'm asking, damn, bro, what's going on? I just seen you been late. Because I want you to tell me your reasoning. I don't have to like it. I don't have to say, oh shit, you're forgiven. You act as if I said whatever your dad says means that he's right and you're wrong. It's like, no, you're very much right and valid in how you feel, but his perspective is very much necessary for you to even draw a clear and concise conclusion to how you feel.
I received everything you just said.
And you're not going to apply none of it.
However, how I look at it, to give an example, let's say Ricky came in here and he gave me like that some type of face energy every day. And I was like, man, this nigga cool. This your man's. This nigga give me grizzly every day, whatever. But that's just one experiment. That's just one pattern. Then I see another pattern like, yo, Ricky, why is my audio only one that's fucked up every episode? Just my shit just fucked up. So like, all right, so that's a second experiment.
Shit is crisp.
Yeah, like, that's the second experiment. Then something third has, say my camera be fucked up, all type of shit. Like, I don't get no couch, some shit. It's like, okay, I done seen several things that seem like, this nigga don't like me. Like, it's something there. But I don't need to have a conversation with this nigga. I'm like, yo, like, this, we ain't there.
Yeah.
I
understand.
I'm not even going to waste my time having a conversation.
I get that, right? But, like, that's not the dynamic. And even so, I would still encourage asking, right? Because you can, even if a motherfucker is trying to, like, indirectly and subliminally do things that affect you, not communicating it will allow it to keep happening. So it's like, what about you as a grown man is avoiding that? Because conflict ain't always a bad thing, right? Sometimes conflict is necessary. Like, whether we like it or not, the civil rights movement was necessary, even though it came with a lot of conflict. The Civil War was necessary, even though it came with a lot of conflict. World War I was necessary. Certain things are necessary, even though it comes with conflict and confrontation. If you avoid it, then you stop the best possible solution from materializing, right? Because at the end all be all, it's like y'all could probably have a better relationship behind you being a grown-ass man, standing up for yourself and saying, listen, Dad, this is how I feel about what you're doing. As he did to you. He said, Q, I don't like the fact that you don't text my wife on Mother's Day. That's communication. He didn't say, fuck my son, I can see that he don't like my wife because 3 years in a row.
He didn't say that, but he asked me why.
Same thing. He still, that's even better because he didn't draw a conclusion. He said, yo, why you ain't text her on Mother's Day? He gave you the opportunity and the space to communicate for yourself. I'm saying do the same for him.
Right, to bring it full circle. So, yeah, I agree. Like, nobody wants to be a bitch and not stand up for themselves and just take certain behavior. That's why I was saying I'm the type of person where I just match energy where it's at. And part of this whole conversation about my dad was, to add some context to wrap it up, was I'm just big on don't try to make me seem like I'm crazy. So again, if Ricky, this ain't a scenario, if he did all these things and one day talking about, yo, Q, you know we best friends. It's like, nigga, no, we not. Like, so don't try to make it seem like I'm the one that did something.
You.
Yeah, exactly. We on this level. We a 5. Don't make it sound like we a 10. We a 5. So in regards to my dad, certain things that's happened, I'm fine with us being at a 5. But that's different. So I'm saying, I don't need to hear your explanation why we at a 5. I don't need you to make up some bullshit or give me some dumbass logic behind it. We a 5. It shit can stay there. I don't need to try to figure out to make it a 10. Also, because knowing people and seeing patterns, I know that it ain't but to go there, ain't but to make me think something or explain something that's gonna make it to a 5. We a 5. And that is fine. All right, so I ain't going to say you a 2 because it ain't a 10. You a 5.
Let me add context, too.
And one more thing, too.
Go ahead.
I've also had friendships where it's like, let's say at one point we was a 7. Yo, we meet up all the time. We talk all the time, this, that, whatever. But I'm also not like a narcissist. People go through things. Shit like that will happen. So if I start seeing patterns that, oh, we didn't meet up or you didn't come here or you didn't text or you didn't call back or some things like that, oh, okay, cool. You may be going through some things. So eventually, instead of trying to give you 7 energy, I'm going to give you 5 energy.
No, I understand.
It don't need to be a conversation. It just be like, oh, I'm just going to meet you where you at. And I feel that's also conducive to healthy interactions.
No, look, but
I'm never going to overextend myself.
That's add context, though. It's not even just about, I understand that, right? Leaving people where they are and whether you consider matching the energy or just accepting what it is, right? I say that. Let's say you accepting it. But the context that's lacking in this situation is you drew conclusions and scenarios that were up in the air based on not having all the information. So I'm not telling you to piece it up with him and y'all already tried to piece it up. No, it was never no communication. He did things that could have made him human that you interpreted from a hard stance perspective without communicating. That's not mature. That's not that. So what you saying is 100%. I agree with that, right? To that logic. But that's the context that's lacking. If you saying like, my dad don't fuck with me because he didn't tell me about this event, and he also did this, and he also did that, I'm like, well, did you ask him about any of these things that happened? No. Well, how you know he don't fuck with you? Because look at the pattern. The pattern is being perceived based on one event that indicated you don't fuck with me, and everything after that must mean you trying to be smart. You follow what I'm saying? It's like you got a fiance. You ever see your fiance come in a situation and be like, yeah, I just think that bitch don't like me. And you like, well, what did she do? She did this, she did that. Well, did you ever talk to her about it? No. Well, how did you draw the conclusion? Because she must don't like me because the one time I complimented her and she just said thanks. Well, what else was she the fuck supposed to say? I'm just saying, like, normally.
Thank you.
Like, you follow what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm basically in a sense just saying, I'm not saying be a 10. I'm saying that even if it's a 5, make him stand on that too, because you're not even giving a motherfucker, like, you got a right to face the person that makes you feel away, I guess, if you care to, right? But if you're going to draw a conclusion that gives you a hard stance, I think that the best way to do that is to be like, you know what? I know this person don't fuck with me because I had a conversation with them and we see it differently, and that's cool. But I'm not just like, yeah, this person don't fuck with me because they look at me crazy every time I walk in, because you know that happened, and it's like most of the time it don't even be personal. So you know we can land a plane on that. I don't want you to cry on here. I said I was gonna make him cry before the season was over, but we got company today. I'm not gonna make you cry.